Welcome everybody to this ZoomCast. It's Rugged X, J. Allen Smith, and do we have a special guest today? This is incredible. She's one of the leading lady hunters in the world, sustainable use conservationist, public speaker, advocate for conservation and hunters' rights. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Britt Longoria.
Thank you, Alan. I'm so excited.
This is great. I'm really appreciative that you came on here because there's a lot of people that are scared to come on this show. I'm just saying. So, they've seen some of the stuff we've been up to, but that just shows how brave you are to come on here and see what's going to happen.
Absolutely. And the bad part is that I know you well enough to know that you're probably going to be playing jokes and trying to get me off kilter. So I'm fortifying myself to be prepared.
You're ready.
I am.
All right. So first of all, let's go back a little bit on the history of how you got to be a social media icon. You got into the whole business, and it really wasn't by your choice, as I remember.
Absolutely not. Complete opposite. I still work in the environmental conservation world. So all of my hunting has always been extremely private. It was always for me. I never shared trophy photos or photos with firearms or anything that was controversial online.
Until
the photo went viral because it was part of the Safari Club record book. So after it was entered, it got pulled online by a troll, and it went around the world in a matter of hours. And it just really was devastating because the intention of it going viral was to name me and shame me. And the outcry of everyone as far as the hatred was not necessarily directed at me because none of these people knew me. Mm-hmm. It was a projection of hatred towards hunting and hunters. So several months after this photo went viral, I decided to create an Instagram account that was just hunting. Basically, at that point, I was pissed. I was like, you know what? If you're going to try to tell my story, I'm going to take a stand and I'm going to tell you what's in my heart and soul. That I'm not this horrible killer, murderer, whatever that they want to compare me to, that there is a much deeper passion and story behind a hunting photo.
For sure. And I know the feeling, not to the level you've had it. For some reason, I guess they just expect it from me and have for years. And we've been out there and it was no surprise, when we put pictures out. But I will say that my experience has been, if you want to get some hate mail, put a cat up. You put a, Cape Buffalo up, you don't get that much hate mail. You put a leopard, a lion, any of the bears. That's just asking for it from the bunny hugging, wackos that are out there. But the other part about it that's so crazy that I found with it is when you were going through it too, is the personal hatred nature that these people have that I don't get. Like, I've never felt any urge to ever send somebody mail that I hope that I can meet you in an alley and kill you one night or cut your, la 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 off or, whatever. They probably didn't say that to you, but.
La la la's off. Yeah. And it was more of this personal side that was just so weird, as you're saying. And I think that, as you say, that was kind of my aha moment, was that these people had a priority that extended beyond me. Their emotion, their fire, their passion, their excitement over this image wasn't about me personally. So That's why it was so vital to me to start a narrative that explained it. And also from my personal side, that, hey, if you want to judge me personally, I'm going to tell you personally why I do what I do.
Yeah. Here's the one that I got the most hate mail of all time for, which is also another leopard one. great leopard. By the way, that leopard you took was unbelievable. That thing's a monster. And this was no slouch either. You can tell he's been eating kudu for a couple of days by the size of his belly. But is your technique, do you take them on, or are you my method is I ban and delete. I've gotten so burned out by responding to them. Some of them I feel they're convertible or they'll listen, but the guys that are just the blatant, I hope your children all die of cancer, I'm a, ban and delete.
Yes, if it's a derogatory, hateful, I want to mentally hurt you somehow, ban and delete. I don't have time for that either. But if someone has an honest question, or if someone is a little bit more on the neutral side, even it might be a question that's presented very sarcastically and you can tell, I engage with those people and I leave their posts on and I have a full conversation with them. I prefer to do it on the public side versus the DM side. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something that's a learning experience that I this is why I do it, is to have those conversations.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you got into this whole thing. I mean, it's becoming more and more popular for ladies to get involved in hunting. And I found this picture in the archives of, look at that girl.
Those are some pretty sweet overalls.
How about that? I actually have overalls like that I wear on a regular basis, but they're a little bigger than that, I might add. And look at that, you got your shooting pad on and everything.
Yeah, that shooting pad was for my 410. Dad wanted to make sure that Dad wanted to make sure that there was no issues whatsoever. So that was, all put together.
Yeah. So what was your first big game animal? Do you remember what that was?
It was a black Hawaiian ram in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And it was actually with my mom. My dad is kind of how I grew up hunting and everything like that. And Mom had bought I think it was advertised as a father-son hunt at the local SCI auction banquet. And she and I went. So it was a mother-daughter hunt, and she had never shot anything, and I had never shot anything. And we didn't know if we could do it. We were petrified of, are we going to go home and tell Dad that, no, this just isn't for us. And it just all kind of grew from there.
That's great. So since then, I mean, you're one of the top lady hunters, if not the number one. And they've got an award program through SCI called the Diana Award that's always presented at the convention on Saturday nights. It's a big deal. Are you close? I know you're not doing this for awards, just like myself. I never killed anything for an award. The idea is to get out and have fun and the challenge of being in the outdoors and all those things we love about hunting. But I mean, is this a passion that's going to take you to that level eventually with winning the Diana Award?
Oh, I absolutely hope so. I mean, I think that I don't know if an award is the right term, because it's such an achievement and it's such it's not something that you can do overnight. It's a lifetime of collecting these types of experiences and these hunts. Mm-hmm. So, and it's also very much of a sorority. So it's very much a coming together of like-minded women. So I think that there's definitely a process to get to that point that is intrinsic as well as quantitative.
Yeah. Do you think that, I mean, I'm not into awards that much, but if I let my hair grow a little longer, do you think I'd have a chance of getting into the Diana Award category, or that's dyed it black maybe?
It's kind of looking like a mullet right now, so you might want to grow it out more evenly, like in the front. On the front
and the sides? Well, that's what happens, when you get in lockdown, sometimes you just can't get your style on. And, speaking of bad hair, one of the questions, we got quite a few questions from fans. We had let everyone know that you were going to be on this ZoomCast. And the question that kept coming up was, how do you keep yourself so good looking in the field? I mean, your hair is always great, you're stylish, and everything else, and that's not easy. I mean, I'm just going to relate, just a couple quick ones because I'm just asking for a friend. I mean, for me, it's not that big of a problem, and who cares, right? I mean, just because sometimes you end up with a bad hair day, in camp doesn't mean that you need to have any special hair care product. What's your trick?
I would say if you have good eyelashes,
Mhm.
that's usually the focal point. So if your hair is getting a little wild, as long as those lashes look really nice, you're good to go for the day.
Wow. So more eyeliner is the key then, or whatever you call that stuff.
Get out of quarantine, go to your lady and ask her about extensions.
Yeah. I don't know if I need extensions so much as actually I should start giving it away, like when they cut it to the, the people that need the hair, because it's pretty bad. So have you ever done anything really crazy while you've been hunting anywhere?
Ooh, that's an old college photo.
Wow.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy while hunting. Well, this last trip was really crazy because we got stuck in Cameroon for 2 weeks.
How was that?
That was wild. I mean, Ricardo and I were in a 300 square foot hotel room for 2 weeks. And I went out twice during those 2 weeks to buy bottled water because you couldn't drink the water in the hotel. We had lovely local beer, canned sardines. I found some canned like asparagus spears and stuff like that. So it was awesome.
Wow. And were you in beautiful downtown Douala?
Yes, beautiful, scenic.
Yeah. I've spent my share of nights in that metropolis also, and I can't imagine. And you guys are still married after that? 2 weeks in that little room, and
We are. We like each other.
wow, that's
That's
amazing.
the key.
It could have ended up that only one of you came back. I'm just saying, but of course, that would never happen when you're blissfully in love. So, tell us what's happening with your. You're working with Trinity Oaks, great organization. We love them to death. They're doing so much great out there for the community. Tell us a little bit about Trinity Oaks.
Absolutely. So Trinity Oaks is a nonprofit based in San Antonio. We work with all different demographics of people that need outdoor experiences that can't afford them. One of the things that happens in Texas is that 95% of the land is privately owned. So you either need to know someone, have the financial means, have land, have a lease to be able to access wild places. And so we have a kind of a network of ranches that we work with, as well as our own property, the Thumbtack Ranch, that provides outdoor hunting, fishing programs to veterans, terminally ill, underprivileged youth. We have a meat distribution program that distributes over 100,000 pounds of meat throughout Texas. Just phenomenal group of volunteers that keeps the wheels on and keeps on trucking.
That's incredible. So back to social media before I forget. Tell me about Honor the Hunt and how that's going in that program. And if you haven't gone on to Instagram and seen that, it's an incredible set of photos from all different people. It's not just the Britt show. It's got photos from other people on there as well. Showing respect, I guess, is the main point with the photos. But tell us how that all came about.
It ties back to that leopard photo. With the leopard photo, that wouldn't have been the photo that I would have shared outside of the hunting community. As hunters, we look at it, we get it, we understand it. It's a classic leopard pose, I guess. I would call that picture a grip and grin photograph, where Honor the Hunt looks at things that tell a deeper story, but are still a field photo. It still has the hunter, the hunted game animal, and it tells the story of the hunt. So it has the hunter, the hunted, and the hunt illustrated in one image. I decided that with my field photos that I wanted to take this style of imagery and include it in my narrative on the Britt Longoria Instagram.
Mhm.
And I've always felt really inspired seeing kind of that alternative trophy photo images from my own images. And I said, you know what, that this concept and this movement is not about me. There's a lot of people doing it and a lot of people that relate to it. And the biggest thing is that it's relatable to the non-hunting community. Because one of the biggest negative aspects that we hear from the non-hunters is that they look like they're just egomaniacs, smiling, holding up a deer rack, you know, with gun over their shoulder, blah, 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 that they don't get it. They don't understand that story.
Classic trophy hunter.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what I grew up with. That's what you know. I mean, that's normal in the hunting world. But as we're sharing more and more online and there's more and more access to these types of images, we aren't taking control of the narrative that is behind those images.
Yeah.
So if we don't have the ability to sit down and say, hey, I picked up this leopard because I'm illustrating the size of the skull and the length of the body, and that's how you measure it and determine age and maturity, and I don't have the ability to give a paragraph explanation to a non-hunter that might see that photo going viral. Whereas if I produce and share images that are respectful, that have blood wiped off, that have the tongue put in the mouth, that, you know, isn't necessarily a big smile, that is emotional, that it carries more weight to someone who has never experienced hunting and has nothing to be relatable to it.
And the thing that I like about that concept, and when I was going through, well, I see them all the time, your posts, but it's nice to do a different photo like that. You know, we're so ingrained, I don't care whether you shot a turkey or a rabbit or whatever it is, that's what we do. You know, we're out there and because we're most of the time going to be showing it to our buddies. But as you said, now with social media being what it is, when you post something, it goes to all kinds of people. And especially if you got a group of friends that may or may not, I mean, I got tons of friends that don't hunt. And, you know, I try and keep them in the loop on what we're doing. They love the travel part and music and things like that. Mm-hmm. But when you can do those kinds of photos, or the in the field photos, the fact that you're enjoying being in the outdoors just because you're in the outdoors, I think that goes a long way to showing that we're much more well-rounded as hunters, especially the international hunting group where, you know, you're coming off as, you know, the old fat rich guy idea. You know, they have no idea who you are, how you got there, or anything, but that's who you become when you're a trophy hunter. So I love the idea that you're trying to show a different side to us, because that's not what we are. Unfortunately, you know, we've been painted with that brush, but I don't know a guy that's in any of the organizations or is going to the conventions that's not a conservationist. I mean, you and I have talked 1,000 times about sustainable use conservation, how it's the only way that we're going to be able to save wildlife and all over the world. So by getting that message out, and us as trophy hunters getting that message out as well about sustainable use and why it's good for us to be going to these places, it's all part of this big message, you know, that we're trying to get out there.
Absolutely, because the term trophy has been weaponized against us. It never was a negative thing. And in any other sport or speech meet or chess competition, you get a trophy because you participated. I mean, trophies are wonderful. Everyone gets one. But then in the hunting community, or excuse me, outside of the hunting community looking in, that's all of a sudden a negative because it has a life attached to it. And so what I've done, how I get these photos is that I think that the majority of hunters take a moment to say thank you. Sometimes it's very quick, sometimes it's very private, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's thank you for filling my freezer. Very straightforward. Those are the moments that I try to capture. And what I do is I basically give my phone to Ricardo, to my husband, and give it to a hunting buddy or to your guide or whoever, and say, I'm going to take a moment and just say thank you. for this experience, can you just take some random pictures? Don't try to be artsy, just capture this moment for me. And those are real. And oftentimes in our hunting community, it's male dominated. So guys aren't taught to show emotion or share emotion or be like, hey, this was really special to me because of XYZ.
Yeah.
And if we have more images, hey, wait a second. If we have more images that let our stories be told without having to verbalize and articulate them, I think the better it is for our whole community.
Speaking of stories to be told, so besides the other questions we got about hair care products and how do you keep yourself looking good in the field and all that, which you didn't really get into, I noticed. You're not giving away your secrets too easy. But I also received a bunch of questions that people want to ask you while I've got you on here. So we're going to do the fastest 5 questions. You got to answer them immediately because then I'm going on the next one. So no thinking about it. No, you just got to spit it out right away. Okay?
Okay.
The fastest 5.
Okay.
Favorite caliber.
375.
Favorite food.
Tacos.
Brunette, blonde, or silver.
Brunette.
Any tattoos you can show us.
I can't show them to you.
Okay.
It to you.
Good. Good enough. Ever done jail time?
No.
Okay. Wow. The questions that people ask are kind of amazing. The jail time one keeps coming up, and I don't know what kind of crowd they think that we are, although you're one of the few percentage of people that I've asked this question to that has not done jail time or been not jail time, but been in jail. So, well, thanks a million for coming on. Now, before we go though, what's coming up next, assuming we get back in the field pretty quick? What's your next big trip coming up?
We postponed Zambia, and so we're kind of waiting to see what happens in the fall. North America will be coming up in the fall.
Yep.
So Alaska, Canada, that genre.
Well, I'm hoping that all those areas should be, some of the first ones we can go to, and that'll be, our way to get back into the field. International travel, we'll just have to see how it goes, but hey, it is what it is, and there's always something to do. If we got to go back to, shooting prairie dogs or, whatever, still love just being in the field no matter what it is and being in the outdoors. So we're so blessed to live in a country and a continent like we do that we have all the opportunities to get out there and do it. So we'll take care of yourself down there, and we'll, do this again soon when we have some new stuff to talk about. But thanks for all you're doing for conservation and for sticking up for hunters' rights. We really appreciate you being out there on the front lines, Britt.
My pleasure. I love it.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.